Hey everyone, it's Sybil, and today we're going to be doing not a pick a pile, not a channel reading, but we're going to talk about grounding. And if you clicked on this video, you might yourself be wondering if you are grounded. And listen, I'm not looking up any definitions of anything, I'm not pulling up peer reviews. This is just kind of off the dome and what's on my iPad that I wrote earlier this morning. Let's talk about what not being grounded can look like. It can look like always living in the past or the future, never the present. And I know we talk about time and how there's not really past, present, future. But to our human senses, sometimes we're suffering because we're thinking about what could happen or what has happened, right? It can look like a feeling of not really being in your body and not in the, kind of, well, maybe not really in the kind of astral projection, OBE experience, but more like a dissociation. And if you've been through that, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah, it's like not really in a divine way. It's like in a, like you're feeling trapped kind of way, right? What does grounded look like? It looks like being able to follow your intuition, being more regulated. And I actually saw this thing on, and we're gonna get into it, but I was doom scrolling, or we're gonna talk about doom scrolling. I was doom scrolling, and we were and not we, they were talking about how a dysregulated nervous system, like the terminology, the nomenclature, if you will, of that, they were saying it's like colonialist, because sometimes your nervous system is going to react to things, right? And it's going to react appropriately. Like if you're getting robbed by somebody, yeah, your nervous system is going to get dysregulated. Doesn't mean you're dysregulated. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to have panic. You might not feel anything. You might be frozen. I forget what term they were putting forth instead, but less rumination. And as a psychic, it's very important to be grounded, because also when you're not grounded, you can be a little bit in la la land. And I feel people who are in some type of, listen, I'm not a medical professional, but I find people who are, like, if you're in spiritual psychosis, any type of psychosis, you're not really grounded, right? You're kind of living in your own world outside of reality, completely removed from it. And feel free, this is off the dome, feel free to put your input. What does being grounded mean to you? What does not being grounded look like for you? And I was talking about being psychic. For psychics, for tarot readers, diviners, I guess would be the word, spiritualists, spiritual practitioners, being grounded is very freaking important, because that can affect your readings. That can take a toll on you, your mental health. It can affect the accuracy of your readings. Okay. But really, being grounded is important for anybody. So that's why I thought it would be a good idea for this channel, because I'm not really sure who my audience is yet, but I think my ideal audience would be probably a lot of the people who watch my videos are into spirituality, maybe practice a little bit, but maybe they're not professionals, or maybe they want to be. Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent. How can you get grounded? There's quite a few ways. Well, first of all, let's revisit the doom scrolling. The doom scrolling, baby, you need to quit that. If you want to be grounded, quit that. Literally this morning when I was writing my notes, I was like, I need to delete TikTok. I still have my account, but I deleted it off my phone so I don't doom scroll. And this is another finding from my doom scroll activities, but I remember coming across this video and they're talking about how when you're in an online world, when you're in a digital land, part of your consciousness, especially if you're like really focused on it, part of your consciousness kind of goes into that digital realm. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Maybe your attention is really captivated by it and it seems like that. I don't know. I haven't really done too much into it, haven't really read into it, done any readings on that. But if you ever doom scrolled yourself or you've been around someone who's doom scrolling, like you can be like, hey. You can say their name and they'll be like, they're so sucked into it. And how is that being in the present moment? You can't even notice the stimuli around you. And that's another thing I want to talk about too. Well, let me write this down before I forget, okay? Let me write this down before I forget. Because I'm gonna freaking forget. We'll get into that. And I'm not gonna talk about in this video how to stop doom scrolling because I really haven't done it. I'm still working on that, honestly. But it really does affect my mental health because those algorithms, they'll peddle things to you that you enjoy, but also things that are very upsetting, very anxiety inducing. And I talked about this in a previous, I don't want to say channeled reading. We'll call it channel. In a previous reading, like you can stay up to date on politics and the world, but you don't need to be doing that 24/7 every time you're on your phone. If you really want to do that, dedicate a set time to doing it. Dedicate 15-30 minutes to catching up on what's happening in the world a day. But if you're going on that shit for a couple hours every day or more, and you're constantly interspersed with things you enjoy, interspersed with things that will give you crazy anxiety, that's gonna like dysregulate you, right? And you're not going to be pulled into the present and pulled into the things that you need to care about in your own life. All right. And don't get me wrong, there you can contribute to things around the world, but you don't need to bombard yourself. Okay. I'm not someone who's, just get rid of it altogether. Don't check the news altogether. I'm not for that. That's my stance. Okay. And there are other videos that talk about how to stop doom scrolling. Look at those. Okay. Another thing, avoiding your emotions. You may think maybe avoiding your emotions is keeping you grounded, but really it's not. For me, and a lot of this is coming from my own experience, and I'm sure whoever's watching this, you might have different reactions to things or different experiences, but it's just kind of causing you to be, when I avoid my emotions, it takes me out of the present. It takes me out of, it makes me kind of like a zombie a little bit. Like I'm turning off my emotions completely so I don't feel those things. And I used to do this a lot, especially with grief. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. Um, there are ways to manage them, but don't ignore it completely. And listen, I'm not a psychologist, so take whatever I'm saying in this video with a grain of salt, okay? I might not even be putting up the right definition of grounded, but this is what it means to me and how it shows up for me and what I see in others as well. So keep in touch with those emotions. Not keeping in touch with them will not help you be grounded. Okay? Gardening. Gardening really helps. When people say touch grass, it helps, literally, okay? And let me just look up a peer-reviewed study to see. Gardening legit helps with anxiety, depression. Let's see if I can get a peer-reviewed study on this for y'all. And not only that, I think it's like especially grounding because it is tangible. You're touching things, you're touching physical things. You're dealing with other beings as well. Plants are beings. And this is no shade to people who play video games or do other things of other activities of relaxation. But that's like you're in the real world. When you're playing a video game, you're also kind of like in another world as well. You're not really. It may help with stress relief, perhaps. I don't know. Some people get really angry on the video games. Penn State Extension. I'm trying to, let's see. Let's go to NIH, National Institutes of Health. Let's look at the... I'm sorry, I need to like look into... And this another thing, I'm on my device and I'm forgetting not forgetting, but I'm getting sucked into it. You can look this up. It helps. It helps with depression. It helps with grounding. Helps with built up anger, according to what was that? Penn State. .edu. Penn State University.edu. Let me go back to my notes. See how I got pulled out of the moment there? This is another thing. As a person, and I'm not afraid to talk about my diagnoses as a person who's autistic, has ADHD, and has a bipolar disorder diagnosis, being grounded is not easy sometimes, and it has not been easy in the past, and not being grounded has resulted in some not good things, okay? I want to get into listening to music. You know what? We'll talk about an umbrella of things here. Constantly bombarding yourself with stimuli. And I'm not just talking about doom scrolling, I'm talking about constantly, you have your headphones on, you're listening to music all day. And this is a thing I see a lot with neurodivergent people. And I'm a little torn on this because on the one hand, it can help you cope. But I'm going to talk about my experience as someone who formerly had 100,000 minutes on Spotify, which is, I was looking it up this morning, it's like 1,300 hours, which is about 4.5 hours every day. Now, a couple hundred of those hours may have been from me listening to music overnight. But when I was doing that, I was not goal-oriented at all, doing poorly in school, living in my own world, really. And I don't think it's necessarily wrong to live in your own world in a sense, but when you're always listening to music, what are you doing? Especially when you're walking around, you're not listening to the nature outside. And what that does, it's a little bit of an addiction to some extent, right? At least it was for me. But you need to have silence. I know that can be hard for I need to have silence. I don't want to speak with other neurodivergent individuals, but I need to have silence because if I'm listening to music 24/7, I'm feeling all types of emotions, especially if I'm switching from song to song and they're completely different emotions that I'm like in each song. Especially if the lyrics are kind of negative too. And I'm saying don't listen to music altogether or listen to certain types of music. But if you're doing that for hours on end, you're not ever letting yourself be bored. That's another thing. Let yourself be bored. And this is all interconnected because when you're addicted to listening to music all the time, your brain's constantly getting bombarded with dopamine, and you're always chasing that. Okay? I'll look up a peer-reviewed study for that because I know that's true, but I don't want to sound like I'm talking nonsense, but I'll look it up for you guys. If I'm wrong, I'm not wrong, but anyway, it's okay to be silent, to have an experience and sit in silence. It's okay to be outside and just listen. That's also very good for developing your psychic abilities, is to just kind of be in silence and soften your focus and just listen. That's a whole nother topic I could talk about. I do think there are ways to use music therapeutically, but when you're just kind of listening to music nonstop, very haphazardly, no type of structure, it can be very... For me, when I was doing that a lot, I was not getting shit done. I was in my own world, very daydreamy, very, very daydreamy. If you're someone who daydreams a lot and you also listen to music a lot, it might be the culprit or part of it. And I also want to say something. As someone who's with multiple mental health diagnoses, it's okay to be on meds, babe. It's okay to be on psych meds. Especially as someone with bipolar disorder, you do not want to raw dog that. Do not raw dog that. Okay? And I have seen people talk about try using coping skills first before trying to get on medication. Because yes, medication can have side effects, but it can also be very life-changing for people. This is what I'll say. I recommend getting on a good, helpful med regimen. Because, you can get on ones that give you bad side effects or are not helpful or increase your symptoms, right? But when you have a good one, girl, when I got on lamotrigine, that shit changed my life. When I got on meds for my ADHD, I was like, wait, people actually get stuff done? Like, it's okay to be on meds. I know some people are like, oh, I want to do things without, I want to be able to help myself without using meds. But using meds is helping yourself. You know what I mean? What else did I put in here? Yeah, silence. Let's recap. Some concrete, tangible things to do. Be okay with sitting in silence more. There are definitely a lot of different grounding techniques. You can use breathing techniques. I wonder if that's going to keep ringing because I don't want to move. There's the 5 senses one where it's 5 things that you see, 4 things that you touch, whatever. There are different techniques. limiting music usage if you're already a really huge music user, like, or listener rather. There's no shame in being on meds. There's no shame in going to therapy. I'm a big proponent of therapy. And everyone needs different stuff, so I'm not even going to talk about different things, okay? Also, illicit drug use. That's not something I recommend. That was separate. And I don't want to... This is a very sensitive topic because I know people have different feelings about it. But if smoking that loud makes you overthink all the time, maybe don't, and like makes you have panic attacks, maybe don't do it. I used to hit that pen quite often before, to an embarrassing amount, for a few months. And it seems like I'm oversharing, but guys, what's the point if I don't give examples? And anyway, I would feel good for a little bit. I would look in the mirror and I'd feel beautiful, and then I would have super paralyzing... Let me deal with this, y'all. Let me deal with this because I'm not gonna... Sorry. What was I talking about? Yeah, it just wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for me. If you feel like it's not good for you, I honestly feel like WED, I don't know how much YouTube censors me. I'm probably, whatever. I don't know how, I don't think it's that good these days, honestly. I think it's really, especially if you have a bipolar diagnosis or a history of psychosis, illicit drug use is really not good, y'all. That keeps you from being grounded as well. Let's get back into the recap of the examples. Okay, gardening, eliminating doom scrolling, or minimizing it at least. Sitting with your emotions, sitting with silence. Did I talk about music? Minimizing music if you listen to it a lot, like I did. It's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to get on psychiatric meds. It's okay to sit in silence. Those are the ones I would say. And those are especially important if you're a psychic. Those are really important because that can be the difference between connecting with the target pet or the neighbor's pet, and then you give them a totally inaccurate reading. Okay? So, I hope that was helpful. Does it resonate? Leave it down below. I don't know how many people are going to see this, but leave down below if you have any additional grounding techniques, or if not being grounded or being grounded looks different for you. Leave it down below because I know I'm not representative of the entire population of the planet. But until then, I'll see you in another video.